Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Working Thoughts with Spencer. Today, I want to focus on something very near and dear to me, and that is, what is it like working for a startup? PlanSight obviously has experienced tremendous growth in the last couple of years, and I don't know if we'd necessarily fall under the nomenclature of a startup anymore, but when I joined a couple of years ago, I think it was certainly safe to say that that's the appropriate label. So I want to share what it's like coming from a big company, or a couple big organizations that I worked for in the past, down to a very small company. What are the relative strengths and weaknesses of doing that, the pros and cons, and then really what is the day-to-day life in a startup, so that I could share that with you, and hopefully those of you that maybe are either considering starting your own business or joining a small company at some point in the future, what are the things that you need to think about and consider before you take that leap of faith. So like I said, I came from big organizations, and there's certainly working for big companies with well-established brands that have been around a century and that have a very consistent and successful process that they've established. There are many, many reasons why you'd want to work for a company like that, and I certainly enjoyed my time, in those bigger organizations. But the idea of a startup and the idea of building something really speaks to me. Again, I've shared with you, my dad was an entrepreneur. He ran a business out of our house. I got to see him grow a business out of our home as I was growing up as a kid. I think it really resonates with me to participate in that type of process. But from a day-to-day perspective, one of the things that you really need to consider in working at a company of this size is that you wear many hats. Like, you don't show up every day, you don't punch a clock, you don't do 3 or 4 repetitive tasks for 8 hours and then go home and not think about it again. When you work for a startup, you're going to do, spreadsheets one day, you're going to be selling one day, you're going to be demonstrating software one day, and then heck, you might be cleaning the toilet to finish that day. I mean, literally anything like that can happen, and this notion of that is not my job really doesn't exist. Or if you find yourself saying that a lot while working for a startup, then maybe it's not the right place to be. I've seen our C-suite executives literally do anything it takes to solve a problem or help troubleshoot something with a client, help them with an enhancement or an idea. Nothing is beneath anybody in a startup, and so I think you really should approach joining a company like that with that sort of open mind and that understanding that you're not staying in any lane at any given point. Okay. But I do like about that, coming from, again, some big organizations with a certain level of hierarchy and infrastructure and bureaucracy that had to exist, right? You don't want to just change things overnight when you have a company that, brings in billions of dollars, okay? But when you're in a smaller company, you have the opportunity to be really nimble. The speed to market with ideas, improvements, enhancements, fixes, is very, very rapid. And so I love the fact that I can discuss an idea with our CEO. We can mock it up, and get a rendering of it and a rough draft to present to our development team. They can take it and run with it, come back with their ideas. And next thing you know, we go through, of course, a testing process and all those things to make sure there's checks and balances. But you can see an idea come to fruition on the screen in a live product within a number of days, and that is incredible, right? To get to experience, like, I had this idea, I think this might work, I think this might solve this problem, and the next thing you know, it's actually out there doing that. And that's, I cannot speak highly enough of having that sort of speed to market and that nimbleness that really just gives that deep reward to me in joining a company like this. The other thing is relationships, right? You don't have 1,000 relationships when you start. And so if you have a handful of smaller relationships, you get an opportunity to go really, really deep in the weeds with your clients. Understand their business, understand their needs, and you can solve their problems at the same time you're solving other people's problems. And it makes your product better in doing so. So you have a real congruence when you have much more than a superficial understanding of your client's needs. I'm not just going out there trying to sell them a product. I'm trying to sell them a solution for a problem that the industry knows exists. And when there is that sort of, I hate that buzzword of synergy, but when there is that sort of synergy and you have the opportunity to really, really focus on a handful of core partnerships to help both of you grow, that's a serendipitous type thing. And I love the fact that I get to do that at a smaller organization. And the last thing I'll say there is an element of a higher risk and higher reward. When you join a company that's early in its life cycle, yeah, there is some risk that's incumbent in doing that. But if you get it right, and if you get the chance to participate in that growth and build something over 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever your horizon that you're on, that reward, it's impossible to communicate, I think, sometimes, unless you've been in that world. And so, yes, I knew coming over there was higher risk, but in this last couple of years, I've had a chance to literally, have best friends that I work with. You build those client relationships like I was talking about, have ideas that turn into reality at the same time. And then there's the pressure to help the organization grow. And when you do help it grow, it's something that should be celebrated. And you get a chance to almost go, hey, I helped do that. And so those are the reasons. Those are what went into my thought process in joining this company. And this is the experience that I've had. For anybody out there that's thinking of maybe doing the same, I would strongly recommend you consider it. But also, obviously, make sure you look internally and go, is this the right environment for me? Does this align with who I am as a person? If you have any questions, or you want to go a little bit deeper, or you want to talk something offline that's maybe a little more proprietary, love to do that as well. Love to help. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you next time.